name is Abdul Rahman. I'm a lecturer at a public university in Kenya. I deliver lectures in computing and informatics. In our last lesson, we discussed about introduction to structure. When we've seen that there was a difference between a variable and an array and a structure, and actually we had demonstrated what are the differences, what are the syntaxes, and what are actually the works, how they do differently. In today's lesson, we are going to answer our question, how to create a structure variable, and that is very, very important. And into our journey, we are going to define what is a structure variable, what are the syntaxes or syntax of a structure variable, and finally we are going to go to dev C++ actually to implement the same. So let us start onto the definition of actually what it is a structure variable. So when a structure actually is defined, we had seen that in our last lesson that it gives out what we call a user-defined data type. So when it's actually defined, it gives out a user-defined data structure, data type. So, but however, this data type is not allocated any memory. Therefore, in order to allocate a memory, therefore, we must create what we call a structure variable. So, here we don't have any memory allocation until when we create a structure variable. That is the time we are going actually to have a structure variable which is actually going to be allocated memory. And actually there are two ways of actually declaring on those declaring of a structure variable. So let's see, that one takes up to the syntax of how to declare a structure variable. So if we have here a structure variable, basically, so we are saying there are two ways of actually declaring. So the first way, we have actually its syntax of how to declare a structure a variable. It's a very straightforward. We have to have the word struct, and then here we have the tag name. So here we have the tag name of the structure, and then here we'll have our variable name. So this is one way of declaring. For example, if we have the tag name being called animal, so we have to write the word struct and then animal, and then we want to call up a variable name, maybe we call it lion. So that will be how to declare it. Let's see how the second way of declaring it. The second way of declaring it, it is within the definition of a structure. So if we have our structure here, and this particular structure we have up our tag name, and then we open up our bracket there. So we open up our bracket here, we'll have our data, we will have up our members. So here we'll have data type, and we'll have the variable name or member name. We'll have another data type, and then we'll have variable name 2. This is variable name 1, and then we'll have our data type, and then variable name up to n. So here, before we terminate, here we can put up our variable name, and then we terminate. So this is the second way. So let's see the example of it. So a very simple example will be a very straightforward one, which will have here. Let's take, for example, we have got the word struct, and as we said, the tag name to be animal, and here inside an animal, maybe we'll have our int age of that particular animal, and then maybe we'll have our float height. So before we terminate, we can have here our lion. So these are the two ways actually whereby you can define a structure variable. Now let's go to the C++ and see how we can actually implement. So let's have our structure here, and this time we have gotten a structure of an employee. So my structure, I'll call it employee, and then I'll have my opening and closing curly bracket as the syntax says, and then inside it I'll have a name, char name, which char name, and onto that particular name I'll give it a size of 30, and then here basically I'll have my float, and this I'll have my salary, and I'll leave it not actually to implement it here, so I'll terminate. So I'll come up onto the main method, and onto the main method I'll use up the first way of declaring it. So inside the main method there I'll have the word struct, and then I'll have the tag name, which is employee, and then I can have my variable name, which I decide I call it a person. So this is the first way of doing it. You have the struct, tag name, and then the variable name. So this is how actually we have declared this particular variable. And then I put up on my printf. In my printf, I tell up a user, enter your name. So here I'll say enter your name or your names. Enter your names. You can enter one name, two names, three names, or four names. So if he's going to enter more than one name, we are going to capture it using up the gets, and we have discussed how the gets works. You can look at it in our previous videos, and the syntax is very simple. We just put up the variable name inside there. So the variable name here, we are targeting it. It is actually person dot, we are talking about the name. So basically that is how gets work. We have seen in a previous lesson, gets takes up more than one word. When you use up a scan name, it will take up only one word. So if you tell somebody to enter up their name, they'll enter maybe two or three names, so it will truncate other names if you use up a scanf. So the second part of it, we're asking up a user printf, they enter up their salary. So basically now we're asking up a user, enter your salary. Enter your salary. So after entering our salary, now because salary it is on the type float, now we can use up a scanf. So our scanf and our syntax, it's very simple. So here it is data type float f, and here what we are using up an ampersand, and ampersand, it is person dot our salary. So we are accessing up our salary there. After accessing up our salary, now we want to print. Basically we want to print, so we are printing printf. We are printing up the name and the salary. So basically what we are saying, actually the name of that particular person equals to, so here we are bringing up our format specifier, which is percentage %s. Name is that, and salary, actually our salary should be, we want to put up percentage %f, but we want only of 2 decimals. So we say 2 decimal f, and finally to finish it up, we are saying person dot, here we're having up the name, and then person, and then person dot, here we're having up our salary. So basically this is how we have demonstrated actually using up the first way of declaring up a variable. So let's just run this particular program and see what happens. So when we run this particular program, it prompts us to enter your names. So I'll write up my 3 names. That will be Abdul Rahman, Ahmed, Muhammad. and then prompts me to enter per salary. I'll enter per fictitious salary and maybe some few coins onto that. And you can see it gives me your name is Abdurrahman Ahmed Muhammad and your salary, it is actually truncated. We had 4 decimal places, it has given up into 2 decimal places. So let us go back again and try to get up the second way. So we comment on this particular one, and here we are going to write up the person. So here we have used up the second way by declaring up here in a variable name. So we are putting up a person. So let us run this particular program and see if it gives us the same result. So when we run this particular program, actually it gives us the same way, prompts us to enter our name. So we are writing up our name like Abdurrahman, and then we have Ahmed, Muhammad, and then I'll put up 4 names, Al-Mutafi. So on that particular note, enter per salary, I'm entering a few salary there, and I'm having onto that. So you can see now, actually, Abdurrahman Ahmed Muhammad, when we declared our array of character as 30, you could see that the names were more than that. So one of them had been truncated, but we have proved up our point that actually we can use up the 2 ways of declaring either within the structure itself or in the main method. So we actually have demonstrated onto how to create a structured variable. So now we are coming up to the end of this particular session. In our next session, we are going to discuss how you can access the structure member. For now, I say bye until into the next lesson. Bye.